Hey, hopefully this is working. Good evening, afternoon, whatever it is, everyone. So I'm on a new computer, working with a new laser. So if you're here, give me a quick shout out that things are working, or tell me that they're not. But I am going to be working with the Sculpfun iCube Ultra. I got back here. I'm actually running an engraving test on it right now. And I have set up some cameras to switch around. So there we can kind of see what's going on, doing what I can. But we'll see what we can get into tonight, see how long I go. It's a little warm here, and I did some yard work earlier. Got a little bit of headache. But hey, Dave, good to see you here. Philip, working, thanks. Good to know. I bought a new computer and I've been working on setting it up. Had to reinstall Windows for a variety of reasons, and then had to reactivate it, and just getting everything working on here. Just thought I'd test it out before I have trouble on Sunday night. And also the iCube Ultra. Been trying to get some testing done on that, and thought, why not hop on live and do it? So gonna check that out. So we got NEPA and Bespoke Lasers, David Allen and Sharon. Good to see you all. I know this was kind of last minute popping it up, so we'll see if people hop in or whatnot. But yeah, this is a little bit larger portable laser. The iCube Ultra. They did send 2 modules, so it's got the one that's working right now is the 12-watt blue diode. But they also sent over an IR module. So let's see here. This one is a 1.2 watt little IR module. And so this laser does have autofocus. So they have these little pins that hang down, and it goes down and touches off it. You got to use the button on the side, as far as I know. I don't know that it works directly in Lightburn, but interesting little feature on here. And it does also have, so it's got an air exhaust port in back with a fan, and it does have a bit of a filter. I don't know that I'd trust it for much anything, because it's kind of like a small mesh, and then it's got some carbon in there, but it's not fully. You can kind of see through it a bit. But so I've just got it hooked up to an air purifier right now, because it's hot outside, and I don't want to be pulling in that air and exhausting it out. So I think for this laser that'll work. But looks like we got a newcomer, new to lasers. I don't know about that, but hey, Clack, good to see you here. Anyway, yeah, it's testing time for this one. So I've got it running on an engrave test. Here, I'll show you. That's kind of the view we got. And it's not going to be the best in focus, because it's kind of glaring through that acrylic. But yeah, we're gonna play around with that. They did send some material as well. I always like that when they do, because it gets expensive, especially with the IRs and metal, testing out various things. So let's see here. We've got some wood pieces, an interesting picture frame. These are like, looks like leather wallets. Everybody's favorite stainless steel hip flasks. And then they must be paying attention to the live streams and me complaining about the AC, because they sent some USB battery powered USB charged display fans. I think they want me to engrave with the IR with that. And they sent 2, just, you know. Let's see what else we got in here. We've got a little, looks like a little ring box in walnut. And they do in here have a nice kind of material sheet as far as some of the settings and such. So maybe we'll look at that. But and then it looks like there's some paper, a lot of colored paper and such in here. So a variety of things to test. And of course, I'll be using some of the stuff in my shop as well. But anyway, yeah, good to see everyone here. So definitely let me know if there are specific questions you have about this one. And we'll see if we can test it tonight. I don't know how long I'll go, but we'll see if we can do some tests tonight. Otherwise, also for the more full video review, we can do that as well. But let's take a look at how this test came out. So I am testing it with version 2.02 of Lightburn. Here's the test settings I ran. So I ran 2,000 millimeters a minute up to 7,000 millimeters a minute, and then from 10 to 100% power. And it looks like I could probably go a little bit higher on the power, as this top one isn't quite as the gradient as I'd like. So the top speed of this laser is supposed to be 10,000 millimeters a minute. And then of course, doing these little squares, you never know how well it's accelerating to that, but it's my starter baseline there. So you kind of see the bottom there at 2000. It's definitely burning deep. This is Baltic birch, and it's getting through that top veneer layer. So it's kind of getting to the glue layer there at the higher powers and such. But that's the glamour of testing these things. So, so it does have a removable base plate, but there isn't they don't have like a honeycomb or anything. And they do have an optional air assist as well as a camera for this. Now I don't have those, so I can't test those. It's a 12-watt blue diode, so we can do some testing with the cutting, but without the air assist, I know it's going to be a little bit hampered, and it doesn't have like necessarily a cutting panel. So I like to steal this one out of one of the other lasers I had and use it in some of these. So maybe what I'll do is, I did cut up some smaller pieces of Baltic birch. I might run a quick test cut on that. So let me get this dropped in there. Cutting plate first. Now my other problem is that, let's see if I can switch this over there. So you see that little foot that hangs down there? That's the probe for the autofocus. I really wish it wasn't so low, because it's going to catch on this material if I go to try to focus on it. So I might have to move it up and see if it's got enough room. Let me try that. That's going to error out. All right, that errored out. So maybe if I home it, let's close that. So what I did instead is I just used the screws and moved that up. So you do have both adjustments on there. So now I should be able to autofocus it okay. Little quirks of these new lasers, trying to figure out how everything works on them. So it does have that autofocus, but it has the side screws for larger adjustments, which I guess is good, but it's always nice when you can, within the software, control all the axes as well. So let me move this more to the center. I'm going to need to home it first because I manually moved it. All right. So in Lightburn, I can tell it to move to the center, and then I'm going to go hit the auto assist or the autofocus on the side, and you'll see it work. Maybe. Okay. Or not. It might not have traveled far enough. This is the joys of testing new stuff. So I'm going to move that plate out. All right. It seemed like it was hung up on something, so we'll let it rehome. See if we can get this to work right this time. All right. Yeah, Miles. Nothing like that's the risk doing anything live. I've assembled a couple lasers live, and then there's always some little weird glitch. But all right, let me see if this works with the plate again. I hope I didn't break it. All right. Well, this could be really short if that thing's going to keep acting up. But, yep, that's what it's doing. Hey, Rich. We got Rich, Louisiana hobby guy in here as well. And he just checked out the alien cell laser, which looks pretty cool. I know they showed it at LBX in New York at the Lightburn Expo. And they're making I think 3 or 4 stops around the US. And so they stopped in Louisiana near him. So definitely check out his video on that. That's a very interesting laser with they've got a newer type of controller. Looks like it's an ARM processor running Linux. They have their own software for it as well as Lightburn compatible and such. So it's nice to see innovations. That's not just the same old thing. All right. I gotta move that again. All right. I'm gonna home that, and then we'll try the autofocus one more time and see if I broke it or not. Well, this is not good. Yeah, I don't know what to say on this one because I hit the autofocus button and it doesn't move the Z-axis, so I may have to pop the top on it and see if the Z-axis is binding up somehow. But yeah, I broke it within what? I've been live for 14 minutes. This is a new record. Usually I have the problems at least a half hour in. But let me fully power it down and such. And I might take that top off. Let's see if I can manually move it. Okay. Yeah, Miles. Power cycling, yeah, Rich. Power cycle. I powered it off and then tried to manually move the stepper to make sure it was loose. All right, so we're reconnected. We'll home that. Move it back to center. Let's see what it does. Yeah. Nope. It started to move. Dave, I'm not sure. That's the problem with these enclosed ones. It's hard to see. So I might need to see if I can pop the top real quick. So bear with me. I didn't put my portable mic on. Try not to lose screws. So this is the top, and this is where the camera would go, and then they have a connection for kind of the LED light bar that gives you a status on there. So if you do get this one and want to have the camera, it looks like it's a manual add. It goes in here, and then there's some stuff in there. I'll try to move the other camera so we can take a look at the inside. All right. Yeah, it looks like it was bottoming out, so I need to move that up much higher, and then it should work. So we're going to slide that up, and then we'll see if it can autofocus. You can kind of see, here's the block. That block in there is bottoming out, so. So I manually moved the stepper up and then lowered the module down so it's just on there, backed it off a couple millimeters. So now it should have plenty of room to work. Hopefully that was just a little bit of operator error and such. But now I got to put the top back on. Okay, power. All right, so hopefully now we have enough space in there to get it to autofocus with the plate in there. So let's try this. Okay, we're gonna home first. We'll move the laser back to the middle. Press the autofocus. Hey, it worked. All right, let me get this closed up. We'll set up the test grid in Lightburn. Okay. So let's bring up the software here. So this is version 2.0 of Lightburn. I'm seeing how well it works with this. You know, testing a new laser with new software. Why not? They have moved some things around. So if you go under laser tools, you'll also see your device settings in here where they used to be under the edit menu and settings. So that's just one of the things that people use a lot. You might notice different. But the material test is still in here. So they do have their engrave and cut tests, but they're usually wildly off. Okay. So let me see where their test sheet said. For plywood, of course, they're saying 5mm plywood. Yeah, it's recommended to use an air pump for cutting. Well, they didn't send one. They're saying 200mm a minute for 5mm plywood. All right. I got a fire extinguisher here. Let's go with 100 up to 250. Power, you're not going to be cutting through it 10%. I usually go, we'll go 60. 60 to 100. So we can cut this back to, let's see here. Oh, I meant 5, and let's see what we want. Yeah, jumping up by 25s, up by 10% power. That should be all right. Close it off. Don't need border. Text setting. It should be all right. All right. So we will go ahead and just going to make sure that's going to hit the wood. Yep. All right. Let me get this positioned right. All right. We got a test cut going. So, yeah, like I say, this is some of the fun of testing these lasers. It's going through various material tests and such and seeing what they can do to try to dial it in. And I'm trying to get better at creating a library for individual lasers, but I often only like to do that for ones I think are going to stick around. So a lot of times I'll just keep my notepad handy, or I keep the blanks. And then if I'm feeling good about the laser, I start going back in and editing those. But I didn't, when I started, I was using RDWorks and such and didn't have the library option. So I didn't get used to using it right away, but it's definitely one of the cool tools in Lightburn to use. So it is cutting. And here's another thing I've noticed with Lightburn 2.0 is they kind of they go from the upper left of high speed, low power down to low speed, high power in their tests. So it looks like it's jumping around, but it's kind of doing that. And I think on purpose to minimize your risks of fire. So, I mean, you'll see it sooner or later. You can stop it, I guess is the thing. So we'll let this run for a bit, but anyway, let me check out some of the comments while I was doing that. Yeah. Dave's having some fun with that ASMR machine. that big one. So definitely check that out. Not board. This is the iCube Sculpfun Ultra. It's a 12-watt blue diode, and they also have a 1.2-watt IR module for it. So they did send both those, and there should be a link in the description if you want to check it out. And that they've got all the specs and everything and all the options there. Not board. Yeah, I've a lot of live wood over there. Some of them were intended projects that might not happen now. Some of them were I was shopping. I have a couple friends who run some sawmills, and every so often they have kind of the shop's too full and they need to clear it out. So they kind of put everything at $5 a board foot. And so like one of them, well, you can't see it. It's behind the one that David's head's on. There's one behind there. There's a really nice slab of hard maple that I may turn into a workbench at some point. But yeah, there are some tables and other things that were intended, but some plans have changed, and so we'll see. But I have been processing some of it down into CNC blanks for doing some sample projects and such. So you'll see some of it processed soon. And I do need to move some of it out of the way because I'm wanting to use part of that area back there for the extended Fox Alien CNC. That'll be 800 millimeters wide, and I need a little more space for that. So anyway, hopefully everybody else is doing all right. Kind of winding down in summer. I work at a community technical college, and we got faculty coming back next week, and then we got students coming back the week after that. So I'm going to be a bit busy these next couple weeks, get everybody reacclimated to campus life. And then hopefully this fall, as it cools off up here and people get busy with that, I can take some time off and maybe take a vacation with wife and get more shop time with it not being almost 80 degrees and 65% humidity in here. So it's almost finishing up this test. We got a few more to go. I'm curious how the air assist works because I think they have a part that maybe goes on the bottom there. I'll have to take a closer look at that because if it's that far away with the stock one, I don't know that air assist would do a whole lot. But no fires yet, so that's good. Yeah, David, I keep shopping, I keep looking, but I'm also having to talk with electricians about a variety of things, and all of a sudden it adds up. So, and a lot of years I don't know. It's sometimes we get a few hot, humid weeks, but we've had a lot more moisture this year spread out. A lot of times it's dried out by now. You get a lot in the spring in through June, but usually mid-July it starts drying out, and it's just stayed a little more wet, which has been great for the corn and the soybeans up here. Everything's growing really well, but it's been a little humid. So, all right, there we go. Just finished up, and I haven't set my park settings for this one. I should do that too. All right. Here it's on the sheet. Oh, wow. I actually cut out almost all of them. And I think these last two, they're hanging on by a thread. That one just popped out. It was just a little thing. So looks like I'm going to have to step up the speed a little bit. I might be able to squeak into the 300s, almost 400, if you want to drive it at full power. So maybe we'll run another one of these. Michelle, same weather. Yeah, Wisconsin. Well, you guys got a lot of rain. Last week, Milwaukee just got, the 500-year flood. So hope everybody's doing okay over there. But it's been a year, that's for sure. Let me slide this back in there. We'll bump up the speeds. Yes, that's center. Sharon, you got the air assist for your original iCube work? Yeah, I think it would be great ad. I just they didn't send it for this one, but that, I mean, on any laser, if you're going to be doing cutting, and the same thing when, you know, with these dual fiber diode lasers coming out. I mean, it's great to see higher power, but if you don't have the air assist, your cuts are going to be still fairly limited, and they're going to have more risk of that, you know, that soot and vapors and such. So if, you know, anyone that's looking to do engraving or cutting, really should look at a machine with air assist on it. Yeah, Rich, I know it's worse down in the Gulf, but we also have, I mean, look up corn sweat here in the kind of the corn area. I mean, those fields hold a lot of moisture and they put out a lot of humidity. And so, I mean, we've been running in the 70s, 80s, even, and overnight, you know, as things cool down, it gets into the 90s for humidity sometimes. But the heat, we also get nice cool spells every so often to cool it off. So, and yeah, I over pushed myself with the RC hobby a number of years ago. Probably had heat stroke. I didn't go to the hospital. Probably should have. Ever since then, man, I do not have the heat endurance that I used to. So I'll complain about my winters up here, but I also don't mind them. So anyway, let me jump back into Lightburn here. And there's that. Oh, I put it in there. So it's 250 was the top. All right, so we'll start with 250. 250, and we'll go up to, come on, 400. Yep, that looks good. I just need to make sure it's not going to cut over the same spot. So we'll go ahead and frame this. I think we're good. We'll send that job. It's not quite lined up with the other one, but that's okay. Anyway, Greg, you got a Bamboo A1 arriving tomorrow. I hope you're smart enough to use it. Well, it's pretty, you know, for a beginner 3D printer, it's hard to go wrong with the Bamboo A1s. Just you know, make sure it gets set up right. Follow the app instructions, and then the thing that I recommend, even with those, is wipe down the build plate with some isopropyl alcohol before your first run, and or if you've run a few jobs, or let it sit for a while. That bed adhesion is your biggest thing there. They do heat up pretty well, but if they have any sort of dust or, you know, fingerprints and just they've sat a little while, cleaning them off with a little bit of alcohol can help out a lot. But yeah, I think you'll like that one. I have that one. I have the A1 Lite, and then the P1S with the AMS unit. And I also just picked up some of that polychromic filament. I put a post out on Facebook as well as YouTube community post about it. The Polymaker, it's almost like half off. And so that's a pretty good deal on that. Now, the only thing with the Bamboo is they work really well with their own filament, and they do have some other filament kind of settings. And if you use their filament, they have RFID and they'll detect it. So you may have to do just a little playing with it. But yeah, it's pretty good stuff. I bought a bunch to play around with some of those chunkables that Brian turned me on to about a month ago. So I'm going to have some fun with that. But yeah, hope you enjoy it. Let us know how it goes. And if you have questions, you know, Clack and I will be on here Sunday night as well. We can answer them as well. Yeah, well, laser enthusiast, glad I could get one, and I'll be running through some tests. Gonna try to, we'll see how much time I get on it tonight and tomorrow. If I can kind of get an initial teaser out about it, I will. But usually I like to run it for a little bit, get it some solid tests going before I really put out a real opinion. Here's what I think, good, bad, or otherwise of it. So, but only done a few tests on it. Doing some cut tests, some engraving tests. I've got some other materials. We'll see how late we go tonight. Yeah. So Greg, on that one, I mean, getting started using some of theirs is going to take out some of the guesswork. But they do have profiles for other PLA, and honestly, using some of their generic PLA profiles will get you pretty close. So as far as what to print, they have included with the printer, they have some test files. Of course, the Benchy is a popular one, that boat. It'll kind of show you everything that it's doing and if there's any issues with it. They have their whole maker software. I can't remember, Maker World, I think. You can download all sorts of things to test with it and play around with. You don't have to necessarily design everything, so definitely browse through that. Otherwise, there's Printables is from Prusa, and Thangs.com is another one. There's another one I'm forgetting, but there's a number of places out there where you can find models and import them. So, and it does a pretty good job with the slicer, giving you any recommendations. Like I say, it is a fairly beginner friendly 3D printer. So this one finished. Let me pull it out and we'll check it. All right. Tap that. Yeah, there we go. So this one looks like 300 at 100% power, although, I mean, yeah, that's barely holding on by a little. So maybe 90 to 100. And the one above it, I would say 300 without air assist is kind of the maximum. Some of these others are just pushing out, and then I did overlap that just a little bit, but there you go. I mean, for a 12-watt diode without air assist, that's not bad, really. I mean, it's been a while since I really did a lot of cutting with a 10-watt, but there. And this is Baltic birch. This is cabinet grade. I get it from an actual hardwood dealer. If you're using craft plywood, and I have some poplar and some basswood, we might be able to try that as well. But for a denser plywood like Baltic birch, that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Like I said, with the air assist, the optional air assist would probably be a little bit better. So. All right, let me see. I might have some thicker. I mean, they included these chunks. This might be the 5mm stuff they were talking about. Let me see if I can measure it. Anyway, so it's 4.5mm. Set that over here for now. And this is kind of your craft grade plywood. I don't know if that's probably not going to want to focus on that, but you can kind of see it's 5-layer there. It looks like pretty lightweight layers to this. Actually, 7-layer if you count the veneers. But we could throw this in there and give it a shot, both engraving and cutting. I also have, well, I'd have to swap out modules for that. We'll see. Maybe we'll stick with testing some woods for now. This does come with the typical Sculpfun laser repair kit. So there is, most importantly, there's a lens cover in there, and they use a smaller size and this kind of interesting screw in. Try to do this without getting my fingers on it. It's just a kind of a thin little, I can get that to focus. Just a thin little brass. You kind of see the threaded in there that kind of threads into the end. And then they have these little divots in there that you're supposed to be able to screw it in or out, which is why they give you this tool to be able to grab those. It's not my favorite, and it's a little harder to find this glass. Let me see if I can measure this. It's roughly 10 millimeter glass. So, but they do provide you one, and I believe they have them available. And then there's the little tweezer tool for removing that, and then a lint-free cloth. So most diode lasers will give you, well, I shouldn't say, a lot of them do. Sculpfun, Atom Stack, X-Tool, I think Lasermatic, they all generally give you at least one of those. So always look for it in as you're unboxing things, because those are consumable. Over time, they will eventually. I mean, some people, if you're really good at your cleaning and you got good air, they'll eventually they'll stay clean. But a lot of them eventually will get, it just takes a little bit of a dust or a little bit of smoke hitting that lens when the beam's going through it, or if you're using air assist, maybe some moisture gets in the line. All those things can get on there and cause it to either etch or in some cases crack. So, but let me find let me grab a couple other pieces of wood. All right. I've got some basswood. So this is 1/8 inch, and this is a kind of a concave curved piece of 1/4 inch. But we'll give them a shot as well, just to see. This is kind of more of a typical craft wood you might use in cutting with some of these smaller lasers. Kind of the same thing with the 1/4 inch. But yeah, we'll see how they do. I think they'll do a little bit better on the cut. So we'll start with the 1/8 inch one. We'll run the same test because it topped out at 300. We had it to 400. So we'll just drop that in there and let that run. All right. Eighth inch and 3 millimeter are close enough. I'm not going to refocus that one, but we will run it and see. There you go. It's doing its thing. All right. What else we got going in the chat here? Here's some recommendations on filament, Creality, Elegoo, Sun brands. I don't know that I've used a lot of Creality filament recently. The Elegoo I have, and that works well in both the A1 and the P1S. I'm trying to remember the other one I've used. There's a brand on Amazon that I've had decent luck with, but we'll see. But yeah, always nice getting kind of other users' recommendations on that stuff. And sometimes, you also have to be careful, the matte finish versus more of the glossy, and then even like into the silk and such. Just because one brand and color works well, sometimes their other ones are not as good. All right, it is going through the cuts. Hard to tell if they're getting through and dropping, but we will see. Yeah, Rich, I still have mine. Well, not on the MK2. I have not. I've taken that off to check and clean it a couple times, and every time I do, I'm like, looks pretty clean. So the air assist and the way that the 4-inch fan on there, if you make sure you're extracting your smoke well, the Lasermatic does it pretty well. I like that they have the 4-inch exhaust on there to pull more through, and they seem to have that cone and the air assist working pretty well to keep that clean. So, but yeah, 3 years on the 10 prototype. That's pretty good. Yeah, Greg. Rich says if it's an MK2, you can get the IR module for it. So, Overture, yes, Robert. That's the other one I use a lot. Overture filament. So, yeah. So, yep. Polymaker. Yep, they're on sale. Like I said, I put a post out, and I know Rich put a post out as well about it. So, if you have a 3D printer, I mean, some of those rolls are like $10, $11, and I haven't seen those prices for a while. So, I went through. I have three different boxes coming. I've gotten 7 rolls in already. I think I have a couple more coming. So, stocked up on some of the ones I thought I'd be using. It's kind of like collecting wood. You're like, oh, I'm going to use this, and then they kind of sit around. But hopefully, they don't sit around. But anyway, let's see if it can see what. I see some of them have dropped out, so that's good. It's almost finishing up. Yeah, I may have to go back and buy some more, Rich. I mean, at that price, the Polymaker is hard to. I mean, it's good stuff, and at that price, it's hard not to at least have it on hand. If you have that oddball color that you haven't wanted to buy in a while, but maybe getting it at $10 to $14 is going to push you over the edge. So, Sunlu, I've worked a bit with them. I don't know that I've run that through the bamboo, but I mean, unless it's a real off the wall brand, you're probably going to be doing okay. You may see, if it's maybe a little more wet or there's some feed issues with it, you may see some weird lines or some little like almost bubbles and such. That maybe, I mean, if it's just moisture, that's the thing where you're going to want to maybe either get some of those gallon Ziploc bags and a couple of desk kit packs, or if you really get into it, you're going to want to get a filament dryer, because over time they will sometimes absorb too much moisture and you'll start getting those errors. But yeah, it's when you're getting started, sometimes it's just, you gotta play with it and see what works. As long as it doesn't end up like the mess that Clack had, I had on occasion where it feeds through and just makes a big blob that you got to clean up. It's okay. It's not. Mistakes aren't too expensive until they back up into the hot end. Yeah, Rich says Sunlu works well for him. I know I've used it in the past. I just don't know that I've used it on the bamboo ones recently. So, all right, this finished. Let's take a look at it. All right. Oh. So that actually did pretty well. Sneaking through at 80% power of 400. Again, this is without air assist. Now you're seeing on the back, I don't know if you see down there, getting a little bit of staining there, even though I've got it on this shallow cut plate. Air assist would definitely help some of that stuff, but it's surprisingly, it's actually pretty clean on top for not having air assist. So, but this is 1/8-inch basswood, stuff you can find in a lot of hobby stores and craft stores and such. So let's try the 1/4-inch stuff. See what it does. I should have brought my garbage can over here. I think it's just high enough that I'm going to have to. All right, another little tip. I really wish they'd add a home button here. But I'm going to save this so I can reopen it. So I usually name it the laser and something like, so I've got 3mm cut test. So it's something I can come back and look at. But yeah, thought I was high enough, but it aired out. We'll autofocus it. There we go. It's working better than before, although my camera's kind of freaking out a little bit. All right, so now we can jump back in to our material test. I'm going to reopen the cut test. And seeing how well it cut on that one, I'm going to just stay at this and we'll give it a go. So we'll frame it to make sure it's going to fit and send it off. Yeah, I like seeing the longer focus in some of these. Definitely helps with clearance in general, and you're right, it has a cleaner cut. So that's one of the things I really miss with the diodes over the CO2s is you could swap out lenses and kind of play around with a longer focus, but maybe a larger kerf to get better cutting, or swap out for a shorter focus if you want a detailed engraving. But not a thing on diodes, at least not yet. So anyway, see how that's doing. Looked over and almost looked like a little more flame. Got to keep a close eye on that. It's hard to say if it's dropping out because it's such a fine cut plate that they don't move a whole lot. If I don't have the cut plate, sometimes I'll put just like a plate of aluminum down there and I'll elevate it with some 1/4-inch scrap pieces, just so that there's you get that airflow behind it. But we'll see what it does. Oh, does anyone else get any new toys that they could talk about? Coming up on getting awfully close to the holiday season, so I'm sure we'll start seeing manufacturers push out anything new soon for people buying for gifts and such. I put a teaser on my Facebook page the other day, and that's about all I can share for about 10 days. Or no, maybe I can share about it next week. But trying to balance it, and that's one of the things that, you know, I do projects, I do work in here, but I try not to. I don't want to be a strictly review channel, but I do like playing with technology, and I like helping people get a feel for what it is, and try to be as upfront and honest about stuff as I can, to give you a better idea of what you're buying. So, but I've had an uptick of emails from places, so it seems like people are wanting to push stuff out. So we'll see. This one's definitely glowing a little bit more. Keeping an eye on that so it doesn't don't want to fire. All right, there we go. All right, let's see how this did. We'll see if 1/4 inch was too high for it. Uh-oh. Yep. Nice and clean on the front end, but almost getting through. So that was down at 250. So that was just a bit much to ask for it. But it also could be, you know, this specific material, another 6 inches down the same material may have cut through as well. So anytime I'm doing these, I usually run each test 2 or 3 times to look for some consistency. And then I generally will, you know, so for something like this, obviously 400 is going to be kind of okay up in those higher 80, 90, 100% power. But I never want to be at the spot where, you know, like with this at 390 and 100. Yeah, it's cutting through in that specific instance. But another thing I'll do is I'll add maybe a raindrop shape. So it has both a curve and a square. Also test around with a couple of larger pieces just to really confirm that it's going to work at most speeds. So I'll usually back off. So like on this one, I'd probably max out at 250 and run it around anywhere from 80 to 100% power. But I would also want to test that on a few more shapes, and both, you know, larger and smaller, just to make sure that it is fully accelerating up to its top speed for those cuts and doing the same in curves as well as right corners. So, yeah, when we tell you to test your material, you want to test a fair amount of it and in a few different ways. Because if you just go off this one test and put in a big design, you might be sorely sad when a lot of pieces aren't fully cut out. So, all right, let me grab another piece of this. I should have oriented this a little bit better because I put it smack dab in the middle. I'm going to grab another piece that will slow it down and see if it cuts through. All right. Hey, Jack. Good to see you here. Let's jump over into Lightburn again. And so it wasn't cutting through even at 250. So we're going to put the max at 200. Oops, that was the min. Basically going to go from 100 to 200. And I think that means we can drop it down. This will be faster. So yeah, we'll go 100 to 200 and 60 to 100 power. And let's frame it so we're not using the whole thing. I actually positioned it pretty well that time, so we will send the job in Lightburn. Let's do this thing. You can kind of see it's got a little bit of a bow too. So, I mean, I'm going to take this test with a grain of salt. We're just kind of getting in the ballpark with this. So, Jared just made an acrylic bender. Not sure what I'm going to make with it, but yeah, those are kind of fun. So you probably have like a hot wire and then some sort of hinge over the wire to do the bending. That can be useful for making like acrylic display stands and other things where you need to get a certain nice even bend with your cutout. So I've seen some cool stuff with it, but we'll drop some stuff in the Facebook group if you start playing around with that. That'll be fun to see. Yeah, Rich, it probably will help with the cut, but it's not so extreme that it's going to really go out of focus too much, and it adds a little bit of extra air underneath it. So we'll see. I might also see, I think I've got some smaller pieces of like cherry and such. We can try some hardwood too. Try to keep enough scraps around to test a variety of things. But nothing's dropped. I don't think anything's dropped yet. But we are in the higher speeds and the lower powers. It's kind of working towards the other ones. Oh, that feels slow. Ooh. Jack, you had your router. So I'm guessing that's on your CNC machine. Your router caught on fire. Was it just running too long and get clogged up, or you have no idea why? I've had some get warm when I was running a long time, but and actually, so in the winter, when I used to make those model airplane stands, and that was out of a lot of 3/8" Baltic birch, run it on a CNC machine. I had a vacuum table that was actually run off of a fine dust extractor. It has a bypass, so it can deal with the suction without overheating the motor. And then I also had another one that was running the dust boot through a cyclone. And so those two were adding heat, and then just the router running for 8 hours and such. You'd actually see probably a 5 to 7 degree increase in the shop over a few hours. But, oh, you got it on video? Getting ready to surface an oak board. So yeah. I'll have to if you share it, I'll have to check it out. Those are this can be exciting / scary if you're not. I mean, that's the thing, not to get complacent with our machines and let them run, walk away for a bit, come back to a fire. So it doesn't have to just be a laser. Hot wire with a DC multi-volt and amp adapter. Cool. I don't know. I've had some foam cutters and such. I imagine I could convert that power source into an acrylic bender. All right, it is. Well, one dropped out. Looks like at probably 125 and 90, and looks like maybe 100 is going to drop too. Yep. So at least we're cutting through some 1/4" material here. This is the exciting part of testing these machines, is letting all these test grids run and ending up with a collection of these. All right, that's complete. All right, so see if that'll focus. Looks like 125 at 90 and 100, otherwise 100 at 80 to 100 power is working. And yeah, the others, I mean, you could probably push that last one through, but if it's grabbing on more than one just little nib, I leave it in there, because nothing worse than doing a bigger design and having a bunch of places you have to try to cut out. But this is just like I say, 1/4" solid basswood, so slow but doable. And if you had an air assist, I think it would probably push through maybe at 150 there. But all right. So let me see if I can show you the other side of the laser. My cord will reach. Turn it. So those are the connections. So you can see the autofocus button right there. Like I said, I asked them if they can get that to work through Lightburn, and they say they were going to look into it and get back to me, because the normal macro doesn't work for that. So you do have to hit that button, which is a little annoying when you're used to the others. But then you see they have the power plug, they have a USB-C for hooking up to the computer, and then they have a USB-A for, I believe, accessories, and then your power switch. So That's about it. And then on the back, they do have an exhaust port. It's a 3-inch exhaust port. I've got it hooked up to the smoke extraction right now, so I don't want to necessarily disconnect that. But I will show you. Let me see. Maybe I can spin it. It'll stretch. So that's the stock one, and then that bigger panel does come out, and you can see that there's a filter in there, and then there's the kind of the safety lock key above it, and then the port for a couple more accessories. But what I did do with this is I used a 3D printer to make an adapter. So they have this kind of square inset for that exhaust. So I tried to match that up. This isn't 100% perfect, but it works. And then I scaled it up to typical 4-inch exhaust to run it off of my normal systems here in the basement. So I'll see if I can dial in this file. Maybe I'll make that available as well for people who are looking at this. I don't know why everybody's obsession is with the 3-inch ports. I mean, on this size, it kind of makes sense, but I've seen it on much larger, more powerful lasers. That little 3-inch exhaust port just doesn't, it's hard to move enough air through them. But in this one, it's okay. But when I have a 4-inch system on everything else, I like to have options. And it's one of the reasons the 3D printer is nice. It seems like focus. Anyhow, the other nice things about it, of course, the acrylic kind of surrounding. It's got a pretty decent view. So, I mean, if you're going to take this to an event, it would be fairly safe. The things you'd have to worry about is the smoke. But as a matter of fact, let me pull that back panel off. I'll show you what the vent is there. Yeah, we'll power it off. And it's one of these. There we go. Actually, I don't need that. I need this. Of course, it's not that one. So they have these two filters, this kind of HEPA style, and you can see already I've run a few tests through it and such. And it's getting a little dirty. And then they have this charcoal one, but it's not solid. You can kind of see those sections are about maybe half full. So it's going to do something, but not a whole lot. So I wouldn't run this without something to capture that if you're at an event. Maybe if you're outdoors and you can just pipe it out away from people, but I don't know. I think if I'm running this on a vent just outside, I'd probably just remove these so that the airflow is better and you're not clogging these up. So we'll see over time how mucked up this gets. And like I say, I don't know that this partially filled charcoal one is going to do a whole lot, since there's obviously a lot of room for air to move through without really interacting with the charcoal. So, but you know, it's cool to see things added to this and whatnot. So anyway, I am being called for dinner pretty soon, so probably going to wrap this up, but I will be doing some more testing with this probably this evening and tomorrow, and we'll see how long I can or see how much I can get done and how long it takes me. I'm hoping to get at least an intro video out on it soon, but kind of depends on how well it goes. Yeah, Rich, check with the code enforcement / the event organizer. Be upfront with what you're doing and let him know what you're going to be running. So different municipalities and states and events and whatever. It's great to be able to do this, but as a matter of fact, I had a friend tell me his dad was at, I think it was at a gun show or something, and they were running a diode laser with zero. I mean, it was like an open frame laser, no enclosure, no extraction, no, eye safety stuff for people. And as a matter of fact, when David and I were at CES, there was a company manufacturer that was actually running their diode laser, open frame diode laser. I mean, we saw the blue light well before we saw the booth because we kind of came around the corner. We're like, whoa, what is that? So be mindful, protect yourself and others, and don't try to sneak around with it. Do it on the up and up, because nothing worse than getting a fine or worse. So, but yeah, I'll be testing this over the next couple of days. I'll probably be talking more about it on our Sunday night live stream at 7 p.m. Central on Sunday. We'll see how David's got to be getting down pretty close. I don't know if he's in the 50s yet, but he's awfully close to the 50s. So, but yeah, $5,000 fine if you don't have a permit and fire inspection. So, and that can be true even if you're just running it in your, if you're trying to set up as a business, you probably want to be checking code as far as what you can do at your home, and such. So, David says 47 days. Is that as of today or on Sunday? Did we blow through the 50s? I feel like it was just 60 something. He's going to be retiring really soon. I'm sure he's getting senioritis and short timer syndrome. But anyway, 47 as of today. I think you've jumped some numbers, David. I don't know about that, but I'm sure we'll talk about it Sunday. I'm going to give him a lot of flack about it because I'm in double-digit years yet. So, but anyway, glad this went well. Like I said, I was partially wanting just to test the new computer and make sure all the cameras and audio and whatnot, and a little sneak preview of the Sculpfun iCube Ultra. Like I said, there's a link down in the description of this if you want to check out more about it. Otherwise, I will be trying to get the review out as quickly as I can, because I know people are interested in it, and Sculpfun's been pushing the launch and such. So hopefully I can give you some kind of real shop experience with it to help you with that decision if it's something you've been considering. But I'm going to bow out. Appreciate you stopping by and hanging out for a little over an hour. And we'll see you Sunday, or otherwise in my next video. So thanks, everyone.